So, I know I did a video with the Copperhead recently where I talked about what happens if you cut a snake's tail off. This is not that snake. I'll show you its tail in a bit to show you this is actually a different Copperhead. Copperhead is the first species I ever had any snake venom from. And the deal was, I accidentally envenomated myself. It was not a good situation. Now personally, I grew up with snakes. I grew up handling them. From the time I was a child, I was allowed to catch them. There was only 2 venomous species that were indigenous to my native Wisconsin, and they were both rattlesnakes, and they were both rather endangered or threatened. So they were very hard to come by. Stuff like copperheads like this, we didn't have up there, although a lot of people would see something like the fox snake. And because fox snakes had a copper colored head, they would think they were copperheads and then needlessly just kill them. Kind of like people do when they see a snake by the water. They'll see a snake by the water and immediately think, water moccasin! And then they just start killing it, which doesn't make any sense. I got a whole video on how to accurately identify a water moccasin, I'll link up here. But this one's a copperhead, and when I moved down to the Ozarks, we started encountering venomous snakes. There's a place I know that I can usually find cottonmouths like anytime I want. During their season, you know, when they're out of their den, when they're out of hibernation, I can pretty much find them at will. And copperheads are back on the move once again now. As it gets kind of cold, they come out a little bit more. They're more nocturnal during the summer because it's so hot during the day. But we've been seeing a lot more of these lately, as we do usually every fall. My wife and I actually went for a little walk yesterday and we found a newborn. I say newborn because it didn't hatch out of an egg. These guys give live birth, and it still had the beautiful little yellow tail, but it was run over on the street. So still an interesting creature to see. And this one, as far as cottonmouth or copperheads go, is an absolutely beautiful one. So anyway, got these types of North American pit vipers around here. And we also have some snakes that are the rattlesnakes. The only ones I've found so far though have been the pygmy rattlesnakes, but I did even find a melanistic one. I'll insert a couple photos because it was amazing. So melanistic means kind of super dark. I've seen some melanistic gar down in the lake. I look forward to catching my first one. But in catching snakes, I appreciate kind of all of God's creatures, and interacting with them, I'm more of a hands-on learner. And to check one out like this in person, just look at it kind of face to face within reason, is kind of part of the way I prefer to do things. So I had to incorporate venomous snakes into the creatures I encountered when we moved down here, because I'd never encountered any before I moved down here. The first venomous snake I found was a copperhead, kind of similar to this one, crossing the road. And what happened was I pinned its head and I grabbed it behind the neck, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people don't like that. They prefer kind of handling them with just tongs and stuff. I understand that, but there's not always a tong or something nearby. And for us, unless this is posing an immediate threat to people or livestock, you can't just kill it here. That's illegal. So there's sometimes you'll find them, they're not posing an immediate threat to anyone, but what we like to do is to relocate them. They serve important roles in the ecosystem, and I don't mind grabbing them, taking them away from whatever property I find them on and releasing them somewhere much more kind of wild, farther away from people. So what happened to me is I grabbed one behind the head, and I had it good. It had its fangs out, and it dripped some venom. And the venom actually leaked into an open wound on my hand. A lot of times I get into enough stuff around here. I've got various cuts, various scrapes on my hand. And what happened was some of the venom leaked into an open wound on my hand. I didn't realize it at the time. Whoa, we're running into some issues here. I did not realize it at the time. But what happened was the next day, I was like, man, why does my hand feel so weird? And then I'm like, you know what? I bet I accidentally envenomated myself. Now, that's one thing. There's normally 3 times that people will get bit by snakes like this. Obviously, this is very camouflaged. If you saw it against a pile of leaves, dried leaves on the forest floor, you might not see it at all. So if you accidentally step near it, it's going to feel threatened. It's going to be defensive, and it will defend itself. Just kind of like if you broke into somebody's home who believed in the Second Amendment and believed in protecting their lives and property, and they pulled their gun on you, you wouldn't say, wow, they were so aggressive. Well, no, you broke into their house. With these guys, if it's sitting somewhere and you don't see it, you're a lot bigger than it. If you come stepping by it, it's going to see you as a threat. I made a rather humorous illustration of this some years ago.
So I want you to imagine for a moment that you're just a face laying on the ground. Okay, you have no arms, you have no legs. All you are is a face. Imagine how you'd feel if suddenly somebody came stomping towards you. Or maybe some animals came running at you. Or even a group of playful, innocent children came tromping down a path directly towards you. Don't look at it, sir. How would you feel? They're coming right for me. Guys, don't you see me? Hey, don't step on me. I'm down here. Hey. What is your defense? You got 2 things you can do. You can either try to slither away as quickly as you can because you have no arms or legs, or you can try to bite. But you're not aggressing anyone. You think people are going to step on your face. You think they're going to crush your head. So what do? You try to bite them.
Yeah, that's why I call them defensive and not aggressive. But the other 2 times that people normally get bit, besides accidentally coming near one, is when they are trying to catch them or kill them. If you don't try to catch them or kill them, your opportunity to either A, get bit, or B, as I did, accidentally envenomate yourself, that's far less likely. I'm actually going to grab this guy for just a second. Hold on. Okay, hold on. So this is a rather similar grip to the one that happened, when I accidentally envenomated myself. I'm going to make sure no venom drips, and again, they can bite right through their bottom lips. They can get you like this, so this is not recommended. A lot of people don't like it. I'm just keeping a firm grip. It can still breathe, but I am causing it some discomfort. But with these guys, it was kind of fortunate perhaps for me that I accidentally envenomated myself, because 2 years ago then I actually got bit by a water moccasin, and I was filming it, I was working with it, I was taking photos of it, and I was foolish. I didn't have at that time a snake hook or a big long pair of snake tongs. I was just using barbecue tongs, little short 8-inch to maybe a foot long barbecue tongs. I grabbed it far back on the body like here, so it had plenty of room to bounce over and bite me, and it did. Thankfully I didn't need any anti-venom, but my hand definitely swelled up. I even did a water displacement test just to show how much it swelled. I was bit by a venomous snake in my thumb. It was a water moccasin. It was a small one. It hit me here in the thumb, and since then my hand has become rather large. Note the difference in the thumbs there. This one's much fatter. The difference in the width of the hands. So what I'm going to do today is a water displacement, snake bite, swelling,
experiment. And what I want to do is use my regular sized hand as a control, find out how much water my hand to the wrist displaces, and then do the same thing with my swollen hand and see what the difference is. So this will be the control hand. To the wrist. Aha! This size, it says 1.5 cups, right at 12 ounces. There we go, right to the top. Use the swollen hand. That is quite a difference. Wow. So on this, we're over 500. If I had to guess, we're at 550 milliliters. Wow. So we're at 550 for the milliliters. That's quite a bit. And on this side, we look to be about 2¼ cups. And probably 18 ounces. Yeah, that was quite a bit of swelling. It was pretty much 1.5 hands. But as I said before, you know, I'm kind of a hands-on learner, and that's one thing I kind of made a video about. I'll link it up here and I'll show you a short clip. All right, guys, welcome back to the homestead. I, in fact, just got back to the homestead from the emergency room. A lot of times when people ask me how I know certain things, it's because I learn kind of hands-on. I learn from doing things, I learn from experimenting, I learn from being out there. Haven't spent a lot of time in a lot of classrooms. Now when I was in the classroom I did rather well. You know, graduated high school, high honors, perfect attendance record, all that. But the real world application of things, the real research and stuff that happens in the real world is what I like. So today I spent some time learning about snake bites hands-on. And not just snake bites, because I've probably been bit several hundreds, if not, you know, thousands of times by snakes. In fact, in the past 24 hours. I wouldn't be surprised if I got bit 10 or a dozen times by snakes. Caught some water snakes last night, was playing with some today. It's pretty easy to get bit by a water snake if you grab it. And I grabbed it. But I was doing a video about venomous water snakes versus non-venomous water snakes. And I almost got bit by one of the water moccasins. And then I did. It's my first venomous snake bite in my life. I believe I have been envenomated before. Meaning that when I had my first copperhead ever, I believe some of the venom actually leaked down into an open wound on my hand. And, you know, I had a measure of venom. Very mild, very small measure, but it was noticeable later. I'm like, man, what happened to my hand? Now, I didn't have results like this. If you look at this hand and compare it to that hand, I don't know, can you guys catching the difference? Or if you look at that thumb compared to the other thumb, there should be a noticeable difference. Primarily in the size of this one compared to that one. Right after I got out of the hospital, I kind of talked about that. So there's dangers of being a hands-on learner depending on what you're up to. Anyway, venomous snakes can pose serious threats to you. That's why I like to educate people on them. I like to show them what they look like, give them a good look so that they're not just freaking out with every snake they encounter. I think that's foolish. You don't need to freak out with every snake you encounter, but if you try to catch one or kill one, your chances of getting bitten are exponentially increased, especially if you try to grab one like this. That's not a good thing. I think it's a little chill now, so I'm going to switch it. It seems to have calmed down a bit. Yeah, maybe not. Hold on, little buddy. Oh, you are so cool looking. I'm going to switch the camera on this because you got to see this pose. There you go. You don't need my face the whole time. I'm actually going to see if I can just set up the camera in a way where I can hold it still and finish this talk showing it off like this.
So anyway, there's definitely a place for these in the wild. They definitely are a threat to people and others, and we've got to be wise around them. The more educated we can be about them, the less likely they are to pose a serious threat to us. But I just think this is an absolutely beautiful snake too. It apparently is going to be done cooperating at this point. But as I was saying, perhaps being accidentally envenomated by this did give my immune system a boost, where I was able to handle a real snake bite a little easier. It's not something I desire to do, not something that I want to do, but also potential snake bites may not prevent me from things like this. I just wanted to share that story and mention be careful, because there's other ways to get envenomated besides actually getting a snake bite, and that's exactly what happened to me. I'll see you next time. Papa out.
Watching and the left button, thumbs up, but well,
and here's a look at the full tail on that one, so you know it's a different one than last time, in case you can't tell from the pattern. Still, what a snake, so beautifully designed to hide as an ambush predator in some dry leaf litter and stuff like that.